Hello everyone, welcome on board. This is True for Flying, and today we are going to do another flight using the ToLiss Airbus A321. I would like to wish you all a welcome on board of our airplane, and I hope you all had a pleasant day. That being said, let's get going. So we are currently, first of all, let's say we're gonna do it a bit differently today. Usually I start off with a briefing, but I think that you can all do without one. Just know that I briefed myself on the current weather, both in our departure as in en route and our destination. And I also briefed myself on the route that we are going to take today. So with that being said, another thing that's different is we are currently completely cold and dark. I didn't touch the airplane yet, except for bringing the brightness up on these two displays. So let's talk about what we are going to do today. We are currently parked in Oslo, Norway, and we are going to operate as Scandinavian Flight 203 with service to Brussels, Belgium. It's a fictional service. They don't actually perform it anymore. I think it's has something to do with the current situation globally, and also they would never fly an Airbus A321 as far as I'm aware. But that's the airplane that we have, so that is what we're going to do. The airplane that we have today is Oscar Yankee Kilo Bravo Hotel, as you can see, and it's a Airbus A321 with standard engine options, so it's not a Neo, which is also fun. The engines, they have a nice roar to them, so that's basically what we are going to do today. Let's get started with our cockpit preparation from cold and dark. So first, let's check engine masters are off, engine mode normal, gear is down 3 green, batteries are above 25.5, so bats to auto. We are on external power now. We'll go dome light to bright, we'll go dome light dim. So also a difference is we are flying at night today. Should be a nice addition to the flight, something different. So we'll go dome light to dim, parking brake is on. Then check that we are on external power, that is checked, so no need to start the APU right now. Then we continue our overhead flow, so we will set the integrated lights for the overhead to a little brighter. Main panel floodlights. This floodlight and the main panel integrated lights go brighter. To take off, I will turn these lights down as you want to be looking outside a taxi as well. But for the startup, I'm gonna have those on. And then we'll select the brightness for all our displays. So my displays have been done. Let's go upper ECAM, bright, lower, I'm gonna go lower ECAM to bright. My first officers, ND, bright, and BFD to the brightest settings, and then we'll go our MCDUs to bright. So all the lighting is checked. Now we will check. Our flaps are indicating up and the lever is up, and the speed brake lever is also not armed or extended. Okay, then we'll continue with our overhead flow. So probe heat is auto. Air conditioning panel, no lights. Electric panel, we have the gen faults, which is normal, and external power on. We are crossbleed auto. Ventilation panel, no lights. Crew oxygen is on. And it will start here at the top. We'll go all three Adirus on. So we'll select nav and wait for the on bed light to disappear. So our navigation systems can start aligning now. All three. Alright, we will continue down the flow. These are all as required. We'll switch this switch up for our recorder to ground mode. Everything here is as required. We'll perform the alarm checks. Don't hear them. Is that normal? That's bizarre. First of all, I'm gonna also reload these scripts really quickly, that I have everything running at max speed. One second, I'm gonna try something. So for some reason I can hear them in the direct monitor, but I don't hear them in my other one, in the stream monitor, so I'm guessing you can't hear it either. But that's alright. These are all set as required. We'll go strobe to auto, nav and logo to setting 2 for nighttime. These are all as required. Seatbelt sign and no smoking sign as required. Arm the emergency exit lights. Get these all already set. Mode selector for the cabin pressure is auto. This is all as required. We did this check. Then we'll have the third comms panel on. These are all as required. That's our overhead done for now. So we will set up our flight computers. We'll start here, check that the aircraft that we're flying is indeed an A321 with the CFM engines. I'm not sure that, I think these are supposed to be the different ones. Supposed to be these engines. Let's verify by looking outside that this works. Yeah, okay, so it's supposed to be these engines. So they are selected. Our AIRAC cycle is still in date and no performance penalties are noted. We'll go to init page. And since we did make our flight plan using SimBrief and I downloaded it, it's in our system. It's gonna be Echo November Golf Mike. So we'll head down to Echo November Golf Mike, Echo Bravo Bravo Romeo. This is our flight plan and we'll load it up. Our alternate today is Charles de Gaulle in Paris. So that's Lima Foxtrot Papa Golf. I'll load it up in the alternate section. Flight number is Scandinavian 203. So we are SAS 203. Cost index is 5, as SimBrief always likes to calculate it like this. Cruising at flight level 340 initially, and then stepping up to 350 apparently. So 340 initially set. Then we'll request our climb winds and verify that these coordinates are correct. I am using Navigraph for this, and I am using the airport plate that shows me my parking stand coordinates. So let's see if we can, what stand we are today. We are 4-2. Is that actually a real parking stand though? Yeah. Should be. It's not actually showing on here, but since we know it's a simulator, we can assume that the data we have on board is correct, so we will align our irises. Let's not make this any difficult than it already is. So that is set. Then we will go to the flight plan page and we will enter our departure data. So we're going to departure on, first verify the winds, so winds 3403 knots, and then see what SimBrief wanted us to fly. One left, does that make Sando? That's 50 degrees off, and that is for sure the best option, so it's gonna be a one left for departure. Flying the Vipa 1 Alpha departure. Vipa 1 Alpha with no transition. I will insert this temporary flight plan. Then we will check that our route is departure up to Vipa. There it is. Then BAFTA Micro Insas, Tasca, Legpi, Welgo, Chorus, Nerdu, Juiced, Temlu, Eel, Echo flight plan in here. Then we will just have to go through this one more time quickly to see if there are any manual sections or discontinuities that we are not expecting. As long as they are not there, then we should be good to go. That manual is for the missed approach, so that's fine. Alright. That is all in there. Alright, just checking out here, we also have that step climb that I have to enter, so it's Lil C where it's gonna be a step climb up to 350, so we want to go down until we find Lil C waypoint. Lil C right there. Oh yeah, I want the other side, that's right. Go up here. Step altitudes. Checking I was done not to make any mistakes regarding this. So we want altitude 350. So it's gonna take it 35,000. Maybe I need to go, we'll see. Ah, yeah. So now it should know that we are doing a step climb up to 350 once we pass Lilsea. Alright. Winds are all in here. Now what's next is to check our flight plan. If it looks like a proper route that we are going to be flying, so we'll go our ND to plan mode, go all the way back up to the top. Oh, that was a bit much. There, departing Norway, heading out to the north, then back to the south, and all in a southerly direction. And then the arrival with that funky turn at Kirky. But by that time we should be slow enough to have this happen nicely. Okay. Verified. Now we'll go to the red nav button and then check. We are actually flying a RNAV departure, so we don't need anything that's not auto-tuned, so we'll leave it as is. We'll go to init, B page, and we will load up our airplane. So mass and balance calculated by SimBrief says that we are carrying 197 passengers, so let's get 197 passengers on board with a zero fuel weight of 69.7. So that's 69.7, and let's apply these load settings. We're right on the edge of the envelope here, or are we? Yeah, I think so. And for fuel, we want a block fuel of 10.9 tons. This includes 45 minutes of extra. So 10.9, yeah. And fuel up. Checked. Alright. Then we want to use this data to enter in our flight computer. So we'll go zero fuel weight of 69.7 slash zero fuel weight CG of 34.8%. Enter it in the top here, then 10.9 tons for block fuel, and then we will see all of our calculated data here, which gives us an hour of extra time over the mandatory minima for fuel there. It's entered. We will go to the performance page and use our EFB to calculate takeoff performance. See what is the most. Okay, these 6 knots are not going to make the difference, so we'll use flaps 2 for takeoff. So we will be flying flaps 2 slash a trim setting of down 1.8, so we'll go Delta November 1.8. Enter it in the flap slash trim position. Flex temperature is 33. Engine out at, let's see what our MSA for the departure is. It's 3900, so we'll go 3900 for engine out acceleration. V1 is 146, same goes for VR. And then 149 is our V2 takeoff safety speed. All entered here. Transition altitude of 7000 might be correct. I'm gonna use the plate to verify this, if that shows. Let's see. Transition altitude 7000. Alright. So we have this all entered. And that means that we are done with our computers, so we can do our startup preparations. First, check the weather and see what our current altimeter in Oslo is. So we have Greenwich of 1002. I will select that. I'm using the function to have everything synchronized here, so it's setting it on all 3 of my altimeters. It's easy when you're flying single pilot in a big plane like this to get overwhelmed, so I'm already helping me in some ways like this. So altimeter is set, our flight directors are on, our landing systems, we want them on in case we need to come back. NT mode back to arc, and the range, let's give it about 20 miles. We're doing RNAV departure, so we'll turn these off for the departure. We don't need any clutter on our displays. Our setup here is speed managed, heading managed, altitude, initial altitude for the departure is 7,000 feet. Setup. Then our timers are reset, anti-skid nozzle steering is on. Then we will go down here, select our audio panel on, go set up the, oh, that's what I want, the weather radar to be ready for use. Once we turn it on, close the cockpit door, reset this, go audio switching for my first officer on as well, and then we need our transponder. We're standard IFR, so leave it here. I will go on, and above mode, we are ready to be pushed back soon, so we'll go mode transponder. Alright, we have takeoff here, and we want flight plan A on our co-pilot MCDU. Now we are ready to start our APU, so we'll go APU master switch on. Now we are looking at this display until the flap opens, but whilst it's happening we will pre-plan our pushback out of here. And let's see how we want this. Get the airport diagram up on my secondary display. We want to go to one left. So I think we want to be pushed back far at least. Alright, so we want to be pointed. Yeah, let's not have it there, let's do something like this for our pushback. This looks pretty nice, gives us some time, and we need to be going that way anyway. Alright, let's have this set up.
Ground to cockpit, plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
Oh, that was very loud. But we will call you through the menu when we are ready. Alright, so by now our APU flap is open and we can go APU start. And we'll listen to that from the outside. As this is happening, I am going to dismiss my ground crew. They can all disappear. See, we can't really hear the APU noise. Looks like there might be an issue regarding audio here. So in just a second, I will have that fixed. First of all, let's activate the APU bleed, and then I'll be gone for just 1 second in order to try to fix this. Alright, hi, I'm back. So I've had this happen before, that the audio from the display sometimes just doesn't work anymore, so I had to reroute the audio cable and I get a new audio cable out here. Luckily I had those standby. Always nice to have some redundancies, especially in streaming when everything is live. Anyway, without any further ado, we were at our APU bleed on, so we will go disconnect our ground power. We're on APU power now, and then we will be ready for our pushback. So we'll go beacon lights on and call the pushback guy over. So that's cockpit to ground, ready for pushback.
Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up.
Alright. As you can see, there's a nice pushback truck parked over here. However, they chose to not have that one come over and to send an entirely new one. I'm just kidding. It looks like this one is static, and our pushback truck comes from the Magic terminal. So as they are driving up, we will get ready with our engine start once they get here.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
Clear to connect and welcome. Alright. Nice, nice. In the meanwhile, we can get our plates up on Avitab that everyone can see them, because I'm using them on my own tablet. Might be more useful if everyone can see where we're actually at.
Tow connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Parking brake released.
Starting pushback. And you may start engines.
Starting number 2, then 1. Alright. I don't know why it's being like this, that I don't need that. I want to get back up. No, it's being annoying. Let's start the engines first. Alright, so we'll go engine mode selector to ignition start. Everything is nominal, and then we'll go starting number 2. Activate the master switch. Starter valve is open, and we see N2 increasing. And then next we should see at about 20 that we get fuel flow introduced. There's fuel, EGT. Okay, so this engine is slightly different compared to the CFM that I'm used to. That's why it's being a bit unexpected. And our engine appears to be stable. Then we can go start number 1. What you heard there, let's get in here, it's the PTU. It's a hydraulic power transfer. It's what they call the Airbus bark. It sounds like a dog barking. But let's get back to this nice engine start. See the engine spool up. We should be focused on getting this cockpit prepared. There, I wanted the back. Okay, and then a departure will be VIPA 1 Alpha. So we'll go down until we see there VIPA 1 Alpha. And we have this blade ready as well. As you can see, we are so we're gonna go, we want to go left on Zulu there, taxi around if we can. Yeah. So we're basically on the wrong side of the airport for the runway that we're going to. So we'll just have to taxi around. And our other engine is stable too, so we'll go after engine checklist, mode selector to normal. So that's the switch there. A PU bleed can come off. We will select our trim, which is down 1.8. There's down 1.8. Rudder trim is 0. And
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Parking brake set.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Roger. And anti-icing will be definitely required. It's minus 13 out here. Engine on first. Wing as well. Although there aren't any clouds. Yeah, let's leave it on anyway, because I'm not sure if there aren't any clouds. You can't see in the dark that well. There shouldn't be according to the forecast, but it's all fine. Alright, and we can switch off the APU now. Oh.
Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the right. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
Looking for you on the right, and see you next time. Bye-bye. So we will be looking on the right. Once we see that they have removed the pin, we can start selecting flaps for takeoff. Get ready to taxi out. Nice red pushback truck with their high vis. There's our pin. Perfect. So engine mode is checked. Flaps, we will go flaps 2 for departure. Speed brake armed. And after start checklist complete. Flaps are 2. We'll go ready for taxi. Nose lights to taxi. There's taxi. Parking brake released, and we'll start a timer. And we will start moving. So left turn here onto Zulu. We'll go all the way out, then to it's a bit too much. Gotta keep a lookout outside, and then Zulu left turn on Papa, and then left turn on Mike. Holding short at Alpha 2. We didn't calculate for Alpha 2, but I think we can take off at Alpha 2. Difference between Alpha 1 and Alpha 2. Of course, you would run performance numbers for that, but I don't have the option to select intersections here, and normal in a normal EFB you can. So that would have been possible. So left on Papa, which is here. or Papa. I don't know who likes to say it how, and it doesn't matter. I've heard both by professionals, so it's all the same. Just think Papa sounds a bit funny. Alright, taxiing out, so we will do our taxi checks. We want to get a quick brake check in, it works, and do our flight control checks. Let's go elevator forward, aft, neutral, left, right, neutral, rudder left, rudder right, neutral. Alright, flight controls are free and correct. Can't I get out of the flight control page? Alright, and we want to watch out where we are now. We don't want Yankee. Yankee is too soon, so left on Mike when that gets there. That's about there. That's a nice 777 there. Didn't know I had that stuff installed. Alright. Then flight mode answer, climb nav is checked, no flags, transponder is set, terrain not required, we want weather instead, auto brakes to max, and then we'll give a cabin call, see if they're ready. Looks like cabin is ready. Ah. Okay, so you know how you didn't hear any chimes or anything if I was going through the HDMI audio? It works now, so I guess I'll leave the setup permanently like this, because I like this better. We have to watch out that we don't go too far. There is November, and we want Mike, if that's possible. Can we get onto Mike? Guess it's not indicated here. We'll take November. November is basically going the same way. You can see on a left turn on November. I don't think we have any other options, or we'll have to go there. If we take November, we could also take Alpha 1. Yeah. Let's take November, Alpha 1, and then we have the correct numbers, and we don't have to worry about anything. Okay, and let's continue. Press takeoff config is normal, and then takeoff no blue. That means our before takeoff checklist to the line is complete. As we continue our taxi down November towards runway 1 left at Oslo. If you are just joining us, welcome on board. We are flight Scandinavian 203 with service to Brussels. On board our nice Airbus A321 standard engines, built by ToLiss for X-Plane 11. I must say I'm really happy about this airplane, how it's built, and especially how it works with the Thrustmaster TCA setup that I am using today. So I am using the side stick and throttle quadrants from Thrustmaster. They don't sponsor me, but I do like their products. Then whilst we're taxiing along here, let's go to my flight plan, see what my minimum takeoff fuel is 10.65. We have 10.78, so as long as we have more than 10.65, we're still safe on what I calculated for fuel. This includes our 45 minutes of extra fuel that we have brought aboard. This is Alpha 3, which means that not the next one, but the one after that is Alpha 1. It's all the way down there, and it will bring us to the threshold of runway 01 left, which is where we will be taking off from. Whilst I was gone, I did do some work on my X-Plane setup. So compared to the last video, I now have the head shake plugin by SimCoders. I have not had a lot of time to set this up yet. So I am trying to make it work properly, to have some lean in when taxiing and making turns. I've also really enjoyed it with flying the new airplane that I have, and I'm not gonna spoil what it is yet. However, you might see me in one of the upcoming videos cruising down the Grand Canyon with it. Yeah, I don't know yet how we're gonna do it, if it's gonna be in a stream or in a video, because I'm trying to make some dedicated videos only. I just have to figure out what's gonna be different between a stream and a video. So what I am thinking, this is November 2, we want to go hold short at Alpha 2, so Alpha 1 is where we want to hold short of the runway, and we are ready to do that. Approaching the holding point. Nicely turning in. And whenever you see flashing lights like this on a taxiway, it does help you, remind you that you have to stop and be careful if you can cross or not. However, I think this is one we can cross and that we have to wait till the next one to stop there. However, with the lights here, I'm not sure I'm gonna stop here. So let's use this as a hold short point. I'm not using X checklist today, so parking brake is set before takeoff checklist. Brake temps are checked. Takeoff clearance will be obtained. We are not flying online and we're not using any ATC, so we'll just assume that we are clear to do everything as an ideal world would be. Cabin crew, let's advise. Engine mode selector normal for today. Packs both on. Lights, we will go runway turn off, landing lights and nose wheel to take off. And we'll go strobe to on. Transponder will go TARA. So that's the final setting there. Weather radar on system 1. And before takeoff checklist is complete, so let's taxi onto the runway. We are going to do a rolling takeoff today, which means that we are gonna set about 50% power once we get onto the runway. I call that our takeoff roll without and the runway available to you as possible. Alright, and let's get ready. We want to set about 50% there, stable. There we go, takeoff. Man flex 33, SRS runway and auto thrust blue. .100 knots. V1. And rotate immediately. Get the nose up to about 15 degrees. Positive rate, gear up. Nav mode is enabled. Follow the flight directors up. We passed 400. Now we are following the departure. Select thrust climb, auto thrust. We're above F speed now, so we'll go flaps 1. And we will now start our turn northbound, around to head to our route. Not northbound, we're already northbound. Alright. As the airplane accelerates through S speed, we will go to flaps up once we get there. But right now, let's perform a part of our after takeoff checklist. So we will go after takeoff, runway and nose lights off. There we go. Flaps up now. Start our turn again. And now at 250 our climb rate will increase. And then we'll go after takeoff checklist, engine mode is normal, anti-ice as required. And that's after takeoff complete with our speed brakes disarmed. And nicely follow this flight director as we nicely get through. Now we would be in contact with Oslo departure and they would clear us up to flight level 350. So let's give us this clearance up to flight level 350 to get one smooth continuous climb up to cruising altitude without the need to level off any earlier. So we're cleared to climb flight level 350. We will go Paro to standard and this will go all three to standard now. And we are also about to commence another turn in our departure. There it is. I ranged out a bit, I zoomed out the range a bit on my ND because after this turn we will have a longer leg. We are currently approaching 10,000 feet pretty shortly, and once we get there I will turn off my landing lights and switch on the autopilot so I can let the passengers out as well. So my X checklist is giving me prompts. I thought I turned it off, but apparently that's not the case. There's 10,000, landing lights off. And passenger signs released, so we'll go autopilot 1 on, and now the autopilot is flying the airplane. As you can see, it lowers the nose that we can accelerate to our cruise climb speed, because underneath 10,000 feet the regular rule is that you aren't supposed to be above 250 knots. Above you can go as fast as you want, and yeah, we are more efficient in our climb at our cruise climb speed for this weight. Alright, so that's done. Let's do a regular climb. Check is done, and then we can go analyze our, we can monitor our performance. So we should see that F Golf Mike 614. Let's do a quick fuel check there. I'm using my flight plan here. Going to Golf Mike 614. We should have 10.3 on board, and we currently have 9.9 or 6. Which means that we are 0.3 below, because we round up to about, I don't know, let's 904 to 909, so we're 0.4 below. And since we're on autopilot, I have my hands free and I can start writing stuff down. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my trusty post-it note here. If you're in real flight, you wouldn't use a post-it note, you would use your flight log. I didn't make a flight log and I didn't print my flight plan because it's 56 pages and I don't want to waste paper if I have a tablet. So let's just write it down here. Golf Mike 614. It will be this thing called a fuel score. To those guys who've seen videos of me before, you will be more than familiar. To you guys that are new, a fuel score is the difference between your, strictly spoken, it's the difference between your minimum fuel that you need for the rest of your journey and your actual fuel on board. However, my flight plan doesn't give me minimum fuel, it gives me estimate fuel on board, which is basically also, yeah, it's derivative of the same value. And we can also see trends using this, so I'm gonna write down minus, because we are below 0.4, and this will remind me that when we get closer to, when we get to the next waypoints, we do more fuel checks. I can see if the trend is going in the good direction, in the bad direction, and if we're gonna run out of fuel before we get to our destination. In flight sim, usually you don't run out of fuel because everything is as calculated, since the flight sim weather isn't as dynamic and you don't get any ATC diversions. However, in real life this is really important because you could also have an unexpected failure. Yeah, it could happen. As I'm looking at the display here from the stream, I am seeing a trend that my voice doesn't match with my camera. So it might be worth just turning that off instead of having it distract you. I am going to do a quick poll with one of my viewers. And if they decide that it's annoying, then I can turn it off. Yeah. As we are currently approaching 18,000 feet, as if you were in the US, this would be something very important. However, we are not in the US, and this doesn't really matter that much. In the United States, 18,000 feet is a transition level and transition altitude, always throughout the entire country. However, in Europe, the transition altitudes vary per region and per country. For example, in the UK, I did some flying there, and yeah, transition altitudes change depending on what airspace you are in, and depending on what airfield, what region of the country you are in, and you never have the same transition altitude. Transition level in Europe is never the same, so ATC decides it, it's never published anywhere, and ATC determines for every airport or region what the transition level is going to be, and that is because of pressure differences when weather passes, and just, yeah, atmospheric pressure differences. And that's also why we have this altimeter setting here in this airplane. I think in one of my previous videos I talked about this more thoroughly. If so, you'll have to just check if you want to know more. And you can always look it up online. So we are looking in the clear, so I'm actually going to turn off my anti-icing. It looks like we are not needing it. What else do I need? I'm gonna dim these screens a bit. Don't want them at max brightness if I don't have to have them there. Maybe a little a little bit brighter. Okay, and these as well then. Because we're flying at night. And might also want these a bit dimmer then. Alright, this is a bit more comfortable for the eyes. In the sim it's fine, but in real life you really want your eyes to adjust to the outside as much as to the inside. That they don't have to change that much between looking outside and looking inside. For IFR flight it's mostly fine, however you want to be looking outside as well. Yeah, it's just good practice to not have everything at max brightness. Let's show our progress. We are out of the departure now, so we can get rid of all of this. And we are currently, looks like we are approaching Nanon, which is our first waypoint en route. Or it isn't, it's still part of the departure. I was a bit... Yeah, it's still part of the departure. It's one of the later ones on the departure. I'm gonna zoom out a bit, then we can see better. There's Vipa, the main waypoint of the departure. Alright, I didn't get a response yet from the stream check if my voice actually matches with the screen, what you see me talking. It would be really distracting if my mouth moves a couple of seconds after I actually do something. As you can see, there's an airport straight ahead, which reminds me I want to turn on the airport mode here, that we actually see some airports that we could divert to on our display. So we just passed Nanon, and let's do a quick fuel check. Should have 9.9, we have 9.4. So that's minus 0.5. Wanna keep an eye on that more closely for sure. Because this is a decrease of 0.1 compared to the other one. Difference of 0.1 in the wrong direction. You wanna keep an eye on this pretty closely. For the rest, nothing much is really happening. We are nicely flying en route, and we can monitor our ECAM as well. See that the engine has everything fine. Bleeds are all in limits. Electrics are all in limits. Hydraulics are all green. Fuel is balanced. Now there's a slight imbalance of 20. And we see that this has used 10 more. You can see that it's also equalizing. It's not significant. Cabin is still nicely temperature, and flight controls show no irregular displacements. So basically everything looks pretty neat. So now we will continue our climb up, and nothing much is going to be happening anytime soon. So I'm going to be quiet for a little while, and we will climb up. I'll talk to you when there's something happening. Okay, I'm back pretty soon already. I want to show you this. I didn't even see this myself. The airplane, I just got this livery today, and it's even the cabin is done up all Scandinavian style. So you have the wood, Scandinavian placard, Star Alliance member, everything here. Everything nicely done. This also reminds me that I probably have to find a way to reduce the cabin lighting if I can, because they're rather harsh. Although I think in an Airbus A320 cabin lighting is controlled by the cabin crew in the back. so I can't do anything about that. Anyway, enough of me again. Let's go back to looking and enjoying the peace and quiet of this airplane. Hello, welcome back to 2 for Flying. Welcome aboard flight 203 with service to Brussels Airport. We are about to level off at flight level 340, and as we do, we will see Altstar speed in our annunciator, alt cruise, that's fine, and we will set below on our transponder. So that is our top of climb checks have been completed. We are currently cruising overhead Denmark. Most likely might still be over the water, but we should be approaching Danish shores pretty quickly. Then let's take a look when we can start our climb. Let's see. Did I set that up correctly? Let's take a quick look. Alright, that is set, and we are not yet there. Alright, there is nothing really further to say. I'm gonna let you enjoy some outside views or some window views of the airplane whilst we continue en route. Our top of descent, we should be there. Let's see, in about 45 minutes. That sounds right. Yeah, so at 21:15 Zulu, which should be correct because I'm using current time. Yeah, real world time. Oh, I have the wrong weather configured. Okay, let's get this really quickly in here, and we'll see what happens then. Okay, I usually fly with the real weather on. Let's see. Oh, this gives us a tailwind and some slight clouds. Okay, sure, I'll take it. Yeah, so I'll let you enjoy and I'll shut up. So see you in approximately 30 minutes maybe before we start doing our before descent checks. Bye bye. Hello there, this is 24 Flying again. Welcome on board. We are still en route to beautiful Brussels, Belgium. So, as determined by my viewer, we are not gonna be using the camera anymore, since this is definitely not synchronized with the audio currently. So we'll leave that off for the remainder of the stream today. However, that does not prevent me from doing basic functions, such as doing a quick fuel check. We just passed the Batva waypoint, and that means that I will go over to my flight plan and look there. And then we can see that at BAFTA we should have a 7.7, and we now have a 7.4 on board. So that means that we are 0.3 under, which is a trend in the good direction since we were 0.5 under last time. So let's write that down on my trusty notepad, which you now can't see anymore. Batva minus 0.3. And since these waypoints are so close together, I will do this in the background a bit, but not all the time. Yeah, it's definitely not worth it to write them all down. Usually about every half hour you want to do a thorough cruise check, and I would consider this being part of a thorough cruise check. So also let's go check our ECAM paddles here. So first of all, engine still very happy. Bleed air still looks very happy. Electrics are all in the green. Hydraulics are all in the green. Fuel is balanced. The difference of 20 kilos is not that big of a deal. Conditioning is nice and comfortable for everyone. And flight controls show no abnormal deflections. So we did our cruise check, and everything is still very much okay. Let's see how far we are from our top of descent. 241 miles, and looks like it's still about 30 minutes away. As we get closer, at about 50 miles, I'll start doing my descent preparation, maybe a bit earlier, just to be sure. But not too early, as to get the most up-to-date information. What's next in here? We need to just be aware that our descent prep will be then, and then our descent will follow. So if you want, you can stay tuned for that. In about 30 minutes we will start our descent into Brussels. See you then. Hello everyone, welcome back on board flight 203 en route to Brussels Airport. This is 24 flying again, and we just currently passed the Eelde VOR. Yes, we just passed the Eelde VOR, which means that we are about 100 nautical miles away from our top of descent. And let's start with our descent preparations. So we will go to the descent prep checklist, go to the pressure page, check that landing elevation is auto, which it is. Then we can unload this page. We can go in here and check in our computer that we are actually flying the correct arrival data. So we'll go to arrival. ILS 25 left Zulu via Kirky via the Woody 3 Bravo arrival, and that is as planned, so that's set. Then we go to performance and confirm that our descent is managed, and I will enter our approach data. So I will currently get a weather update. See what Brussels weather is saying. Wind 25011 knots, 10 kilometers or more, light showers of rain, clouds scattered at 2200, broken 4000, temperature 3, dew point 0, QNH 1012 is what the METAR says. So we will enter this in our approach page. QNH is 1012 as I said before, so we'll go 1012, enter it in the QNH by pressing the line select key. Temperature 3 degrees, wind 25011, 25011. Transition level, let's just say it's flight level 50. ATC would normally decide this, however we're not using any, so let's just take what it chooses for standard. Then as we're flying the ILS 25 left Zulu, or yeah, we're doing the Zulu one, that's correct. Up to Cat 1 minima, it's gonna be a decision height of 200 or a decision altitude of 350. So we'll do 350, go to minimum descent altitude, enter this here. Yeah, I think that's the correct way to do it. We can also go decision heights, enter 200 here. Let's do that. Then, because I noticed that we don't get our minimums call out if I do it in MDA, whilst in DH we do have minimums call out. So the difference is DH is measuring it compared with the radio altimeter, so it's using actual height above the ground, whilst MDA is calculating using the barometric altimeter, the one that we have displayed here. So those minima are in there. Then we can go back in here. It's set and we're gonna fly config full, and these speeds are correct. We'll go next phase for the missed approach. We need to climb up to 4000, so our engine out acceleration, since it's a level acceleration, is at 4000. We'll select that altitude here. Alright, we'll go back performance. Looks like that's also reminding me to do this. And then we will be coming in 25 left, which is a long runway, so we'll go auto brakes low. Let's see, there are some clouds. Temperature is quite low, so once we start our descent I will have anti-icing on. However, we don't need them yet, so that is still to come. And that is our descent preparation completed. Now let's see how far we are. We are 67 miles away, which is plenty of time to determine what altitude we want to descend to. Alright, so the arrival gets us all the way down to see. Depends on what arrival we are flying. I can show you here actually. If we are flying the RNF, we go up to high level 80, or if you fly the normal one, so the radio beacon based one, we would have to be maximum 900 and the hold minimum 4000, so I'm expecting 4000 there. And for the approach, it also wants us to be at 4000 at Kirky, descend to Bruno at 3000, then 2000 there. Alright, makes sense. So we will set up 4000 in our initial descent, because it is our initial approach fixed descent. As we get closer, it might be worth it to get range down a bit, and I will give this range down a bit too to what we had previously. Currently 57 nautical miles away. As from 20 nautical miles from the top of descent, we can start a descent. So you know what? This doesn't really make sense what they want from us. So in 17 miles we're supposed to climb another 1000 feet, and then we're supposed to descend right after. So let's make a decision and stay at flight level 340, not to mess with anything here. It would be possible, since there is still, let's see, we're 15 miles away. Looks like there's still about 35 miles between our climb point and the top of descent, but that would reduce as well because we need 1000 feet more. Let's just leave it like this. Just fly at 340. I don't see a reason why we should climb unless ETC would tell us to. Normally we should, because we filed for it, but whatever. Okay. 48 miles from the top of the set now. Getting ready. But until we get there, there isn't really anything to do, so I'll see you guys there. Alright, I'm already back because there's gonna be something to see out of this wing pretty soon. Our route takes us over the Netherlands, and we are currently over the Netherlands. And I don't know if you can see it now. No, we can't. So let's move over to our colleague and see Amsterdam Schiphol Airport there. One of Europe's biggest. Yeah, it's a lovely place. I'd love to go work there once I graduate, if possible, as a pilot, of course. Yeah, it's just a nice airport. I wanted to let you guys know that we can see it from up here, and to be honest, I think that is pretty realistic, because obviously it's a big airport, lots of lights, lots of stuff going on, and yeah, it's nice to be able to see it from here. So we're now currently 35 nautical miles from our top of descent. At 20 miles I will set up the descent and altitude, and yeah, then when we get a little closer I will initiate the descent. So the goal for this landing, as all landings should be, is to make it as smooth as possible. So let's aim for that butter landing. and I'll try to talk us through what I do in order to get a good idea of if you want to try this at home. However, yeah, practice makes perfect, I guess, and I don't fly butter landings all the time. I try to. It's always the goal. However, it's not always that easy, and yeah, just trying to get there. That's the challenge, let's say. Alright, there we are. Just past 20 miles to go, so we will select, it was 4,000 for the descent. And when we get to 10 miles, I will pull the altitude button, and then we will start our managed descent down the arrival. So it got step deleted because we didn't actually fly our step climb, which is fine. We're not doing it today, just in order to keep it nice and tidy. "12 miles, 2 to go. You know, in all the experience that I've had as a pilot, which isn't that much yet, since I'm still a student, I haven't had many of these long legs in real life, where you were just sitting there, looking and trying to find stuff to do and talk about whilst monitoring the airplane, because all of the flights I've done were usually pretty short or pretty intense. So that's why I'm not that experienced in the small talk yet, especially to myself when there is nobody really here. So that's 8 miles to go. Let's get our descent started. Let's go. Manage descent, so descent, and the altitude restriction is here, and Mach mode. Throttles will now retard to idle, about idle, and then we will start a descent and intercept our pre-calculated descent profile. And now the runway, the airport has come into view on our display as well. Yeah, nicely getting ready to set up for an approach. Now in our descent, we will continuously monitor our speed, and if needed, if it gets too high, we will intervene by using speed brakes. However, normally the computer does a pretty good job of having calculated everything, and that probably won't be necessary. Now the next couple of steps that are gonna happen is at 10,000 feet we'll switch on the landing lights. First I'm gonna get everyone in their seats. Alright, so everyone in their seats so that we can be sure that everyone is safely seated and have their seatbelts fastened before we start making any maneuvers in our arrival. Yeah, then at 10,000 feet we will be switching on these landing lights, which is a requirement. The aircraft will slow down to 250 knots. It will all do this automatically. And let's keep that thought on hold as we see our descent profile move in. So the descent profile is this green dot. Currently we are below the descent profile and we are intercepting it, and as we get through, it will increase our rate of descent pretty drastically. Might get us up to 2200 feet a minute. Yeah, as you can see, it's increasing already to intercept, and it's now throttle idle. So now we actually go to fully idle as we intercept our descent profile. Alright, what was I saying? I was talking about having the requirement to have landing lights on below 10,000 feet. The aircraft will slow down to 250 knots. It will automatically do this, and the computer has already calculated how long it's going to take for the aircraft to slow down from its current speed to 250 knots. And you will see that we stay on our descent profile even though we reduce our rate of descent at that time. So it's really nicely sophisticated, and usually we don't need to do any speed brake even at a time like that, because it will know when it will have to slow down and it will do everything automatically. As you can see, we almost have 1,000 feet a minute more than we had before we intercepted, and that's because we're now on throttles idle and our speed is still the same, trending slightly up. Something I have to watch out for, as long as it doesn't go up in the upper areas there of our speed range. So currently we have set 4,000 feet, however it's going to level off at flight level 80 first, and I can show you why. So we'll go to the constraint here, and we see that the Gurkey constraint is 8,000 or above, which we saw on the plate here. This one actually, you see Gurkey is a flight level 80 or above. That's what this line means. And it has copied this into the procedure here, so the aircraft knows that we can't go any lower. That's why it's in magenta on our PFD. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about this head shake thing. It's keeping my head more level compared to the aircraft in a bank. However, I think it would be a bit more realistic if we looked with the aircraft on this one. I'm not sure how much I like this. It's something I still have to look into. Now, as we keep looking, we see that the aircraft will slow down to 250 knots sooner because Woody has a restriction. So we'll go here, take a look. See that Woody has a max speed of 250 knots. So I didn't mention this yet, but the aircraft also knows this, and that's why we have this magenta dot right there. And that means that's a deceleration point. Not the deceleration point, but that's the point where we will start to decelerate towards 250 knots. The dot being there, we know that the Airbus knows that it's having to calculate that. Very sophisticated little airplane. So we can see now that we're already nicely slow on our profile, on our speed, so that means that we have less energy than we we're expected to have. And this is actually quite nice because we need to reduce energy pretty soon anyway. So it's never a real good thing to have too much energy whilst you're on approach. Low energy situations are also a bad thing. However, yeah, you can compensate by adding thrust. And if you have too much energy, you can only do so much with speed brakes and configuring. Yeah, energy management is really an important part of flying a big jet like this. If you see, yesterday I did a stream with a Piper Seneca 5. It's a much smaller airplane. It's a training aircraft that I used to fly on. And you see energy management is way less of a deal there. You have more options to actually slow down really quickly. But even there, if you're in a descent on approach, you have to be careful that you don't overspeed any configuration, and that's also part of energy management. So it's hidden everywhere. It's it's a important part of aviation, of flying, is knowing what your energy state is. So we are now at Woody and we are at 250 knots, so we did a nice job of slowing down in time. I will decrease the range here because we can now see almost everything on our display already, and get this one down as well. Because my first officer would like to look at a good picture too. Let's see if we can see the airport already. Should be somewhere over there. Okay, we don't see it yet. Nothing to worry about. We're now nicely on the arrival. I think that might be it. The big black mark. Yeah, that looks like the airport that just didn't render yet. Alright. Yeah, that's also where it would be. Okay, let's get our interior lighting off for this landing. Reduce the floodlights. As I talked about before, you don't want everything too bright in your cockpit. And see what the cloud situation is like. It is showing broken 4000, so that's a big layer of clouds. Let's turn on anti-icing now. Even though we're still very high, we're also very cold. So, yeah. Alright, we're getting ready for this. To make this a little bit more challenging, it's gonna be plenty challenging, of course, but I am going to hand fly starting when we just pass the initial approach fix, which is Kirky. Which is an interesting thing to do, because we'll still be very high there. However, I will be trying to hand fly once we're on the straight line here. I'm not gonna try to make this turn, it would be a bit too messy. But once it's established on its leg towards, let's see what it is, towards Bruno VOR, which is Bravo Uniform November, I will fly that, and I'll fly the turn in as well, and then try to get everything done whilst hand flying, which makes life a lot more interesting. Alright. So let's see, once we pass Kirky, I will go activate approach, slow down to flaps 1 maybe, but not too soon because we're still very, very high. Let's see. Just past 18,000 feet here. Looks like that is the airport. Does that make sense? Yeah, that makes perfect sense. The lights have loaded in. And we are 7.7 miles from our initial approach fix. Let's get this approach plate on here. And we are going to be focusing on this part especially because that is a very important part that's not all on here. It is all on here, but you have to, yeah, this is way more obvious. And of course I have the full plate on my tablet to my left, which I use to get an overview of everything. It'd be better if I had it right in front of me, however there is no room anymore with all this equipment that's right in front of me. 3.5 miles from Kirky, we will start our turn pretty soon. There it is. Okay, and you see now the magenta is gone and now it's blue, so that means armed. Flight level 40 is armed here, which should be 4,000 feet, but it will become 4,000 feet once we actually set this to our QNH. For a final time, let's check, it's still 1012. Clouds are still a broken 4,000. View 2200. Winds have changed slightly, so 10 degrees off, so it's 24012 knots. Okay, that was our final weather check, unless we find out that something is very different. So we're going to be landing on that runway down there, which is runway 25 left. Nice sky full of stars. Really, yeah, an ideal world without any pollution apparently. Alright. We are currently on intercept, heading to intercept that 071 radial. Inbound, it's not really the 071, then it's the reciprocal, but it's 071 inbounds for Bruno, Bravo Uniform November, VOR. So let's get VOR 1 up, and then we have that data. There's our turn, and that once we roll out here, I will disconnect the autopilot and fly manually. Nice view over the Belgian, yeah, just Belgium with all the lights. I think it looks better during night than during day. because all of this data isn't really that realistic. It's not like Microsoft Flight Simulator where every house is modeled. I wish, but that's not the case. However, the flight model and this airplane are plenty of reasons to get X-Plane. So we are established. Maybe let's wait until we get to 10,000 feet. Or, yeah, I'm actually already ready. Let's disconnect the autopilots. And let's activate the approach phase. We're currently in the approach phase. Speed will reduce until we hit green dots. We could already select flaps, but we don't want to right now. And just for clarity, I'm currently manually flying this airplane down, as you can see. That is all me. Nice, a wake-up call for all the passengers in the back. Something I wouldn't really do in real life, but just to prove that we're not on autopilot. If you didn't see that the autopilot disconnect was there. Alright, let's go flaps 1. So speed checked, flaps 1. And when I say speed checked, I mean I checked that the speed is below our flap limit speed. And nice tool to help us check is this orange indication here, which is our flap limit speed for the next speed. So if you want to deploy flaps 2, we would have to reduce speed a bit further, which we will eventually. So we're now tracking the 071 inbound to Bruno, and then we will go 204 outbound to intercept the localizer, which is a 249. I should also check on the RadNav page here that this data is in here, so it's correct. Yes, that makes sense. Don't want to be looking out away from my displays for too long, because I want to fly straight since we are not on autopilot anymore. Alright, so approach is armed. We are flaps 1 and our speed is under control. So next thing is, once we start our turn here, I will go arm approach, and then we will configure to flaps 2 or gear down when applicable. Alright, we are currently 11 miles out from Bravo Uniform November. Coming up on 8 miles now. Soon we will start our turn inbound and arm approach mode. If everything goes as planned, like it is currently, even an instrument approach should be a rather calm phase. We should never be stressed in the airplane, even though a lot of stuff can be happening at the same time. So we're approaching, I think it was flight level 50 is our transition altitude, but let's go select our QNH of 1012 now already. 1012, just to be ahead of the game. So the rule is you have to set your QNH at or before your transition level. So as we are before. Now we are allowed to do that. Five miles from Bravo Uniform November. We should be 3000 at the lowest, and we are definitely above that, so no worries there. We do want to try get to 2000 by the time we get to 11 TME, the intercept point. Okay, we're getting into some clouds. We have our anti-icing on. .2 miles from Bravo Uniform November. We can hear our engines spool up a little. Actually got that airplane sound a bit higher now that you can hear it nicely. Less than a mile, we will soon be told to turn. So I am ready for that. There it is. It's a rather steep turn inbound, but since we were ready for that, there's no reason to worry about it. Speed is still managed by the auto throttles. As long as we don't select flaps 2, it will maintain our S speed here. Anticipating a further descent, the engines will go to idle now. That's why we get throttle idle. That's our altitude alerter saying that it's 1000 to go. So actually we should now have 2000 set. My bad on that one. Our instrument approach indications are showing up. We will go approach armed. It will arm the glide slope and localizer. And continue flying the flight directors here. Actually what they are telling me to do now is intercept this 204 outbound to intercept the localizer at 11 DME from the runway. For those who don't know, DME is what we use for distance measuring, so it's distance measuring equipment, and 11 DME is 11 nautical miles from the distance measuring equipment point, which is co-located with the ILS on this runway, so that should be the runway threshold. Or, yeah, more precise, it should be the touchdown zone. So I'm deliberately going a bit underneath my flight directors because I want to be sure to be at I want to try to be at 2000 when we intercept this course here.
2500.
So we will select flaps 2 once we get 2000 radio altimeter. Alt star. There's 2000. We'll wait for our speed to bleed. Loc star. Altitude Speed is checked, flaps 2. So loc star means that the airplane is intercepting the localizer, which is the lateral navigation for the ILS. And we're now at the platform altitude at 5.8 DME. So we're currently at 10 DME, and at 5.8 we will intercept the glide slope. So we have a localizer now. As we have some rain, I will get my wiper up. But of course I'm still looking for my instruments on this instrument approach. I just noticed that we had rain in the window. So since 5 miles is very close, I will go gear down now. So gear down, speed checked, flaps 3. That means runway turn offs on, nose light, takeoff, landing lights are already on, speed brake armed. And cabin is ready. Flaps are 3, so speed is checked, flaps full. And once our flaps get to full, once this becomes green, we will be fully configured. Glide slope is alive, or active, which means that it started moving. In our small aircraft, we would actually start configuring right now when the glide slope is at half scale deflection, which we could have done. However, that would have been a very short time to configure completely. Now I can focus more on the flying. Glide star, which means that we are intercepting the glide slope now. Glide slope, which means the aircraft is intercepted on the glide slope. All modes managed. Landing no blue. And then we can set our missed approach altitude of 4,000 feet. Okay, we can silence the marker. We don't need to hear those. But the sound was just the outer marker beacon for the ILS. We will also get a middle marker on this approach. You'll see an amber mic appear on the display. Approaching 1,000 feet, we are stable and we will continue this landing. Stable, continuing. Missed approach altitude is set. And we are, configured everything that's part of the stable approach. As we get closer, since we are already visual, I can start looking and checking outside, but we are still flying the instrument approach. As you can see, I'm slightly above my glide slope, still on the localizer, but correcting for the glide slope. Don't want to overcorrect, get back to a normal pitch attitude.
500. 400. 100 above. 300. Minimum.
Landing.
200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard.
Oh, it's not floating.
10. 5.
There it is. Reverser screen, not yet. Reverser's active. Reverse screen. $70 knots reverse idle. There it is, 60. And manual braking. I will exit the runway right here. That was an okay landing, not buttered like last time, but yeah, pretty satisfied overall. And now we will taxi to the gate. I'm pretty familiar with the airport layout, so we will follow inner 10 here, all the inners up to the ramp. Or let's first see if we want to actually follow the inners. Let's do outers, because we're already here. And after landing, spoilers disarmed, flaps up, landing lights. Off, nose lights to taxi, runway turn-offs off. And we'll go APU master on. And strobes to auto. Weather radar off. And we will take the inners here, as the rain is starting to definitely pour down on us. Typical Belgian weather. And then we will go, flap is open, so we'll go APU start. And check our wheel temps. They're pretty hot, so I'm going to engage the brake fan to get these nicely cooled. Another neat feature of this Airbus A321. Because, let's be real, in a real life operation you would be having a quick turnaround here in Brussels, flying back to Oslo or to somewhere else on the Scandinavian network, and you would want your brakes cooled for the next takeoff. Because they need to be below a certain temperature in order to be able to withstand a rejected takeoff, if that were to happen. Alright, and we're gonna pick one of these early stands here on the Alpha terminal. Don't know if it's realistic, but we are going to anyway. So let's get in here and then follow this out here and get onto this taxi here. What I do know is that United there is definitely not a realistic airplane. You wouldn't be expecting that there. Neither would be see that American or Aeromexico on the Europe only terminals. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. We are going to pick the second one to the right here. Nice and slow. Following the line in and turning off my nose lights. And then we are looking for the gate guidance here, the docking guidance system. It's recognized our aircraft type, and it's gonna tell us when to turn or stop, or if we are on the center line. We need to come right, even more. There, even more. We are approaching the stop bar, so we are slowing down. Try to be as precise as possible. There it is. Stop. Parking brake set. Anti-icing systems off. APU bleed on. And then we can switch off the engines. So first number 1 off, then number 2 off, and you can see them spool down. Now we're on APU power. And let's check that we have all of these external lights off. Let's switch off this wiper, and seatbelt signs can come off. Everyone is released out of their seats. Set our timer stopped. Fuel pumps all off. Transponder to standby. And that is our parking checklist complete. We'll leave it here since we simulate that this aircraft would fly again after us, in case we won't shut down the IRSs or anything. We will get external power on here that we can actually shut down this APU and stop burning fuel. Alright, so the last bit of our stream is actually going to be watching the replay of my landing. So we'll go into the replay mode, get looking. There is our landing, and let's get it coming a bit closer. And of course, as a good pilot always should, we are going to assess our landing, and what I already know is that I for sure floated a very, very long time. Because I came in high at the end, slightly high. I'll float. You can't see much at night. And we keep floating, and we keep floating, but in the end we were still within the allowed area, and the landing wasn't too hard, which is always what we aim for. Alright. See what the control tower sees. There's the touchdown zone. Still in the touchdown zone. Still in there. And by here we have touched down already, so definitely still a safe landing, although we were getting close to the limits. Almost should have gone around, but as you saw, we had plenty of room to stop, and we vacated nicely without any aggressive braking. Let's see what our passengers had as a view on this landing. If they see much. Oh, we're not there yet. Okay, it's doing the bug thing again. I think it's every other flight that it does this bug, where it thinks it's already further along in the process. So I'm not gonna be showing any more replays once we get done with this one. You can see the reverser deploy nicely. So the engines, they match with the time, the speed brakes and the sounds they don't. So yeah, let's get done with this. Oh, we can still see The jet bridge connecting. The engine actually firing up now. They're just still warm. And get our ground crew selection in here. Makes for a nice screenshot here. I don't want that, just a regular screenshot. Alright, well, without any further hassling, I'm gonna leave it here for tonight. I hope you very much enjoyed watching me fly from Oslo to Brussels. If you did, please do leave a like and consider subscribing, because I'll do similar stuff compared to whatever you saw today. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you then later. Bye bye.